when things are complicated, when things are hopeless, you lean in. So in men's work, we don't say, oh, it's so terrible that you lost your job. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Your boss is such a douche. We don't say any of that. We go, wow, you got fired. How'd you let that happen? Oh, right in the face. And then how are you going to get yourself, on the other side? Because we're not going to sit here to hold your hand and cry with you. We're going to go like, what are you going to do about it? So you put men to action. When men are in action mode, right, in go and conquer mode, go fix it mode, this is how they come out of feeling bad. It's in the doing.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability and fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford, and today I have an amazing guest, André Paradis. Andre's journeys led him from being a former professional dancer to a relationship coach who worked his way out of a difficult childhood. His experiences worldwide from Japan to Bangkok have made him into a teacher and educated him in the fields of male-female dynamics. André has been immensely successful in what he does, and he's taken his incredible knowledge, discoveries, and insights from his successful programs such as Mankind Projects and PAX. Is that correct, André?
PAX. They call it PAX.
PAX, all right, to spread his message and help others. He puts in immense effort to change the world one person at a time, passing on his profound understanding of relationships and arming those he works with tried and tested communication tools that often produce tangible and lasting results. André Paradis, everybody, welcome.
Thank you. It's always crazy to hear an introduction of me because I'm like, well, who's that guy? Wait, it's me? Wow.
You're a pretty phenomenal guy, and I'm excited to get to learn a little bit more about your journey and your story. But first, I want to open up with a quick segment, and it is called "What Comes to Mind." So,
Yeah.
3 questions. What comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability?
Oh my goodness, that's a big question because it's different for women and for men.
Ooh, okay.
So vulnerability for women is to reveal. Well, I guess it's the same thing, except they kind of come around differently. Women want men to be vulnerable, to open up. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what's going on inside. You give me the one word answer, like I don't know what's going on inside of you, which makes women very uncomfortable. So women want us to be vulnerable, so they can emotionally connect to us. The problem, what doesn't work, and again, this is going to sound kind of weird, but it's factual. I do a lot of men's work. This is my whole life. When men become vulnerable and express their fears, express their troubles, express their insecurities, it freaks women out. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
They say they want to hear it, but they don't want to hear it because literally it makes him look in her eyes weak. This is an instinctual response. So if he's weak, then he can't protect her. If he can't protect her, what's she doing with him, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So the idea of being vulnerable that way, men revealing their troubles, it actually destroys the dynamic with the woman, the girlfriend, the wife. So what I say to this, so the women get to never hear anything about us. It's not that, like, your fears, your vulnerabilities, the thing to freak you out, she doesn't need to hear about. And this is why you do men's work and have men's groups and men mentorship, because only men can help a man with his men problems. So not your girlfriend, not your wife, not your mother, which is a big mistake, right? Because you do this, you put yourself in a boyish position, and women can't respect you. Just saying. So
Interesting. So I want to tap into that a little bit more later. Well, I'm gonna ask these other questions. I mean, you're already warmed up, but I'm gonna warm you up a little bit more. What do you do to center yourself when you're feeling stressed or maybe even depressed?
As a male, I'm gonna say this again. This is basically the default system for us to linger in doubt, questioning, feeling bad, right? Feeling weak. That's what kills men, to feel weak and not capable. This is what kills us at our core. Again, it's nature, it's instinct. So my go-to, the way we teach it in the work, like in the men's work, and I've done it myself, I do it every, you know, is that when you're trouble, when things are complicated, when things are hopeless, you lean in. So in men's work, we don't say, "Oh, it's so terrible that you lost your job. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Your boss is such a douche." We don't say any of that. We go, "Wow, you got fired. How'd you let that happen?"
Yeah.
Oh, right in the face. And then how are you going to get yourself, on the other side? Because we're not going to sit here to hold your hand and cry with you. We're going to go like, what are you going to do about it? So you put men to action. When men are in action mode, right, in go and conquer mode, go fix it mode, this is how
Mhm.
they come out of feeling bad. It's in
How
the
do you
doing.
do that in your life personally? What's action look like for you?
For me, it depends of the state. But action for me will go to the gym, take it on the weights, go for a run, right? Get my oxygen level higher up, and get myself to, because when you run, when you exercise, creates a lot of hormones like dopamine and endorphins. Actually soothes the body, soothes the brain, soothes the nervous system. So there's a way to use your body to literally get yourself in a place of clarity, where then you can think again, or think more clearly, as opposed to be in the fog and go, okay, how am I going to do this? Okay,
Mhm.
what's in my hands? Who do I know? And then, oh, solution, oh, solution, and then go do
Yeah.
it.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. Exercise, getting active. That's a part of
Straight up.
my strategy as well. And then last, what is one of your favorite childhood memories?
Oh my God.
That's a tough one, huh?
Oh my goodness. Give me a second. I have to go get it. Mm, I have some terrible ones. That's why I'm trying to I'm trying to filter
Yeah,
through them. Like all the
yeah,
bad ones are popping. Like the big ones have big
yeah.
imprints, right?
That negativity bias is strong. It definitely highlights those negative experiences,
I
and that's
I think it may be. I'm just like that's the one that just showed up now. When
yeah.
we had horses when I was a kid, so we were born. I went to school and we lived in the city, but we had a summer house about 30 minutes away that was in nature, and where we had horses, and so we spent summers and weekends, in the country. We had horses, we had motorcycles, we had all kinds of fun stuff, snowmobiles, because this is up in Canada. But as a teen, oof, things were so challenging, and I was so lost. And so, what I would do, I had a horse. Her name was Sandra. She was 4 years old. So those are very feisty, feisty. 4 year old is a baby, right? Like it's like a
Yeah.
toddler, can almost like so hyper. And I remember many times being so upset, not being able to stand being in my house, literally with my family, that I would suit up. I would go to the stable at midnight, you know what I mean, all out of sort, um, and would go to Sandra, open her stall. She would hear me coming. She does a happy noise, like they make that happy noise, and I go, "Yeah, I'm here." But I don't know if you know this, but horses are very telepathic and very kinesthetic. They
Yeah.
feel you in a way that you can't imagine, much more than we feel each other.
Mhm.
So the moment I got in there, I opened her stall, and she would look at me. She's all happy to see me. She's stomping around. She's 1,100 pounds, right? Like she's a big horse. And the most she literally look at me and go, "Oh, you're not okay." Like you could tell, like, she would go,
Yeah.
"Oh," and I would just
Wow.
walk into this hyper monster who loves to stomp around. I would like get snuggle under her neck, right? And put my arms on her neck, and if she could put her paws around me, her legs around me, she would. She would just like completely
Wow.
calm down and put her head on my shoulder
And
and
just
just not
nurture
breathe,
your little
not
soul.
move a muscle, as long as I was hold her, and she would take it from me. She would take it from
Wow.
me. So that's probably
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I've not done any equine therapy, but it sounds like you got a dose of that early on without even like signing up for it. Like
Yep.
this was a part of
Yep.
what you
Yep.
had experienced. That's beautiful. And
Mm.
thank you for Sandra, because I bet there are a lot of moments where you needed to escape that house
Oh my
and
God.
feel that. Oh man, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I wanna get back to a question, or the talk around vulnerability, male versus female. And so
Yep.
you've done a lot of work in male and female dynamics.
Yes,
And in
sir.
your earlier questions, you spoke from a male's perspective. And I'm curious, what are the big differences that you see in men and women, and how we present, how we show up, what that
Oh,
instinctual nature looks like?
so very good question, man. You're good. So for the ladies, what most of us aren't aware of, men and women, this is sort of the way we operate without understanding what how things work necessarily. But when a woman um, is resisting being vulnerable to her man, right, to her boyfriend, to her husband, whatever, when a woman is not revealing her vulnerabilities emotionally, the man cannot connect to her.
Mhm.
Interesting. You understand? So, like, the vulnerability is an invitation for him to come in and be the hero, to be the fixer, to be the provider, to be the one to alleviate her pain, her discomfort, per her revealing her vulnerabilities. And like I said earlier, the other way around doesn't work.
Yeah.
She loses respect for you not because she wants to, it's because you actually appear weak. So
Mm.
for us, it's the other way around. So when a woman reveals her vulnerabilities, their hero instinct kind of kicks in, and we want to fix it
Yeah.
and want to help. And now we have a conversation. So this is how you meet women in their emotions, which is what we're supposed to do, right? So and the other way around, like I said, is completely different. So our
So
responsibility is really to respect their emotions and to be present to their emotions, to walk them, help them to their emotions, to relieve the things that makes them emotional, right? We're supposed to take it off of them. The things they don't want to do, the thing that stress them out. Step up, dude. Step up. Fix
yeah,
it. Right.
yeah.
Ask her how if you need to. Right. That's how this is really our job as men is to be responsible and be accountable and be aware and connected to her emotions and help her through this is how she
Mhm,
chills out. This is how you
mhm.
become a hero. On the other side, they have to respect us in that, and it's a whole different story, a whole different paradigm. Whoosh.
What do you say to the person who hears that and they think that is rooted in patriarchy, that is keeping women in the damsel of distress mode, where men come in as a hero and actually have emotions and vulnerabilities that they want to get off their chest? What do you say to that person who says that is a form of the patriarchy?
Okay, well then you caught up in the culture and the ridiculousness of how everything I talk about is not my opinion. It's not my choice. It's all based in my training in psychology, anthropology, the chemistry of our bodies, how our brains are functioning different, we operate different. It's all nature and science. Everything I teach is nature and science. It's not my opinion. So when somebody comes back with, "Well, men should be able," you could say that all day long. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? So what helps men is other men. That's it, right? And I had somebody last week. I was on a podcast, and I'm trying to explain this to the ladies. For a man, he has to take action to feel good about himself, and take an action whether it's helping with the women, helping with his girlfriend, helping himself in the world. Like he has to start with himself first, so he can be good to anybody else. It's like I don't think that's true. I don't think all men are like that. I'm like, of course, there's a variety of flavors and colors here, but she goes, I don't think men work that way. I'm like, so now you're telling me how men function. Like, it was ridiculous, right? She's telling me how men work. I'm like, I'm a dude. This is my work. This is what I do with men all day long. And you're telling me, no, it doesn't sound right. So that's not true.
Mm,
That's part of what's out there in the culture. So people can say that it's the patriarchy's fault. It's not. It's nature, it's science, it's biology, it's the way we function. It's our instinctual system that is a yin yang thing. One is exact opposite of the other, but in this culture, we're trying to make everybody the same. So men should be like women. That won't work. Women should be more like men. Look what happened.
yeah.
So it's not about being the same. It's about embracing our differences, and we're very, very, very different. And that is the point. This is how we kind of come together complementary.
Yeah, we
They're
do.
not the
We do
same.
complement. We do
They're not the
complement each
same.
other, and this sounds to me like what is the book? Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. Is
Yeah,
that
I study with him.
is there?
He's one of the masters I stand on this. I'm standing on the shoulders of 5 masters in the field, and John
Okay,
Gray is one of them. So
John Gray.
John Gray, Mars from Venus. Now the book is 30 years old. The past 10 years of his work is a lot more about the chemistry of our bodies and why
Mhm.
we think, behave, respond differently to each other, how we process everything differently as men and women. You know, testosterone brain as opposed to estrogen brain is a different machine. It's a different engine, right? It's like a diesel engine and a gas engine. There's 2 engines, but they're completely different. They function on a different fuel. I'm a car guy, can you tell? So, so that whole paradigm, like our chemistry drives us. The way men process feelings is not the way the women process feeling, right? But again, in a
Mhm.
culture with 50-50 and we should be the same, it's on paper, it looks right. Do you know what I mean? Empower
Mhm.
women, soften the men. We even out the playing fields. It sounds good on paper in the realm of relationship because it works for money and business, the equality paradigm. But in the realm of relationship, it's a kiss of death. It
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
is what doesn't work.
Okay. So let me hear that back from my own
Bring
self.
it,
So
bring
like when it
it.
comes to 50-50 in other areas of life, whether it be business, whether it be like equal rights and things like that,
That's
you are
fine.
saying that is 50-50 there, let's go.
That
But then
works.
in terms of romantic relationship between a man and a woman,
Yep.
there is something that needs to be different.
But because there's an emotional attachment, right? So when you get the difference between men and women have happened at work too, by the way. Women, in the workforce, women in the world often collide with men left and right, and they'll shout, misogynistic because they don't respect me and that kind of stuff. There's a reason for this. I don't want to go there, but there's a reason for
I
this in
want to go there.
behavior.
Let's go there.
You want to go there? Oh
Yeah.
God. Okay, this is what people are gonna hate. People are gonna hate. Again, not my
Haters,
opinion.
hey, haters hate, they hate. They're always going to be
Fine,
out there.
fine, fine. So what happened is, again, if we're going to talk about nature in our operating system, right? Men are hunters, women are gatherers. We think we're beyond that. We're not. It still drives us to our core. Every freaking moment of the day, I'm not even aware of it, and that's part of
Mm,
what people I teach people so they understand their reflexes are instinctual much more than their thoughts,
yeah.
right? So when you go back into the 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 making of human beings, the way we survive, there was a hunter and there was a gatherer. And they're 2 different jobs, but they come together for survival. The hunter takes all the risks, the gatherer takes care of the nest, right? The children, the fire, the berries, the mushrooms, the collecting the food, the working together, right? As a community, the women would stick together to take, you know what I mean? Some would some would go to the river to wash. Some would tend to fire. Some would tend to children. Like there's a community system that works in order for everyone to survive, and the kids and the ladies, when the men were doing the dangerous work out there. That's
Mm,
how we survive, right? And this is
yeah.
still how we come together, like it or not, right? I don't care what the culture says. This is you can't undo, 1 billion years of evolution. It's in there. 40 years of feminism ain't going to change any of that.
Mm,
But we try and we think but it's in our ingrained too much. So the question is, when men work together, there's a natural. You'll know this right away as a male. We don't again have these conversations very much, but there's a hierarchy in the men's world. Men know how to work together. Men, if you put 10, 20 guys, and I've experienced this myself, you put 20 guys in a room with a problem to solve, right? There's a guy who's gonna the alpha is gonna go to the top and take the lead. And if he's not, and if there's nobody that stands out to lead, we'll elect somebody to lead because we
mhm.
need that. So just like in any team sport, right? There's a captain, and everybody's got their position underneath the captain. Everybody's
Yeah,
very clear what the positions are. Nobody's the
yeah.
same. Nobody's the same, right? There's the coach and the coach's coach, right? And all the hierarchy underneath it. This is how men work naturally. There's
Mhm.
always a leader, and everybody knows their place and do their job, and together we survive, we succeed. You see it? In the female paradigm, in the gatherer paradigm, not hunter paradigm, which is producing results. The gathering is the machine of it, is the connectivity of it. And again, women aren't aware of this, men aren't aware of this typically, but women are egalitarian thinking.
Mm.
It's all about being the same. For us, we have to elect a leader, and we have to take our place for it to work well, for all of us to survive. In the community of women, it's all equalitarian, so it's all the same. So who the hell does she think she is to try to tell us what to do, right?
Mm.
Like, so you're supposed to share all your feelings together and all agree on what's the right thing to do, and all agree on the right approach to something, problem solving or whatever. And in that, there's a lot more talking than men do, right? There's, again, for us, we define the roles and go for it. So it's a different machine. So what happened is, when we put women in the men's world, they bring that connectivity, that bring we have to talk about it, we have to feel good about it, right? We have to feel safe here. We have, right? This is how HR was invented. If you put men together working, HR is irrelevant. It doesn't exist.
Mm.
So now we put men and women together in the same space, in a workspace, which is about producing results, but you still have a male female dynamic in place where women want to connect and want to feel good and want to be all these things that are fine, but men don't need this in the workplace. So it creates a lot of collision. And if a woman is disrespectful, because in the business world, leaning in, women will emulate masculinity and lean in and, micromanage. And
Well, I think it sounds like they have to when you say they're in a men's world,
yeah,
right? And I'm curious, like what how is it defined as a man's world? How are you defining that, and what makes the world a man's world? And if in your world travels, you've seen it where it was opposite.
it's a men's world in the sense that, if you're going to survive, you got to lean in, you got to go and conquer and fight and compete and push and make your place. That's masculine, right? So now we expect women to do this, right? We used to raise women to not necessarily have to do this, but now we raise them. You have to be a boss babe, go out there, make some money, which puts them in their masculine. Do you know what I mean? And in that, when you go back to nature, when they decide after being successful or independent, which is fine, except again, nature has a way to kind of bite you in the butt. By the time they get to be 30 plus and they realize money doesn't make them happy, the career is exhausting, they want to pull back, they want to chill out. Now they're thinking, maybe I want a relationship, maybe I want kids. Never wanted kids before. These are all my clients. Every one of my clients is this. So women kind of come to that place where they realize, genetically, organically, in their physiology, their essence doesn't want to fight, compete, push, and be in charge of everything all the time. They don't want to be in this masculine paradigm all the time. And then they look to, oh, now maybe I should start looking for a husband, boyfriend, whatever. Except the problem with that is they're so masculine that they don't attract masculine men. They irritate masculine men. And it becomes a shit show. And this is my work. This is a shit show. So in our culture, we flip the role. We soften the man. We made them vulnerable and talkative. Women can't respect that. They say they want a nice guy. They don't want a nice guy. They can't respect him. They look down on him as opposed to look up on him. And we make women boss babes and strong independent, which is great. But when it comes to relationship, it becomes a disaster eventually.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm just sounding the alarm. There's
Yeah.
things that are normal now that don't work in relationship, and nobody
No.
understands why it doesn't work. It should work. Why we equalize the playing field? It should be better. It's not. It's the worst thing in the world in
No,
relationships.
I hear you. And like from a biological standpoint, and like you said, the billions of years of evolution, our brain hasn't evolved in that way to catch up to what society is asking of us in today.
Right.
And so I hear a lot of that. And I'm curious, again, in your travels or in your studies around the world, are there different cultures where it's the opposite of that?
Which is what opposite of
Where the
what we do.
women where it's a woman's world, or just a different paradigm than what we are conditioned in the
Yeah.
Western world
Well,
around.
again, it's not conditioning as much as survival, right? If you ever watched the survival shows, one of the survival shows, I forget what it's called, a bunch of them, and there was a beautiful experiment on the question you just asked me. They put 10 guys on an island with nothing, right? With nothing, like no tools, no nothing, just like pretty much naked with they have a bucket. They had a bucket and I think a shovel, and they put them on the island and go ahead, survive. And they put 10 women on an island with the same thing. And in 2 days, the women were collapsing and dying of thirst. And in 24 hours, the men had figured out a system to collect water. They'd figure out some spears to be able to fish, right? Again, the hierarchy kicked in. They elected a chief, and then everybody decided what's their specialty, what they're good at naturally, and tap into this for us to survive. So in nature, male survive, without women. In nature, women don't. Now,
Yeah.
call it whatever you want it. That's just nature. And again, this TV show proved it over and over again. Every season, the women collapse in 2 days. They run around going, "How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this?" It's not their fault, right? They're not made to literally sort of the hierarchy of equalitarian keeps them from somebody taking charge. And like, so it's a man's world,
That's fascinating. I'm
isn't it?
curious, what dynamics did you grow up with, and did they fall in line with what you have seen to work in your research and studies, or were they kind of challenging that in the lines of feminism today? How did you see that when you were growing up?
All right. So though this is a it's not a black and white kind of thing. There's everybody's got their story, everybody's got their injuries, everybody's got their trauma. Mine was my dad was very toxic, and my mother would come at me with her trouble about him.
Mm.
So she would she would signal to me, "Don't be like your dad. Don't be like this. Don't be like that. Don't be like this. Be nice, be sweet, be kind." So she tried to like soften me up because he was rough. I get it. However, what happened is I'm half him and half her. When this is again things that people don't realize, when you talk shit about your kid's father or mother, you're basically destroying half of him.
Mm.
You create toxic shame
That's
within the
good.
kid by
Mhm.
destroying his father or his mother. Right now, men don't destroy their mothers, kids' mothers. Typically, women will destroy the father because they're mad, because they're angry, because they feel whatever. So, in destroying my dad's, which is the part of me that's masculine, and agreeing with her because it was constant,
Mm.
I emulated the feminine energy more. My mother, be sweet, sensitive, kind, right? And rejected my father's paradigm, which is a terrible problem for the boy, a man, right? Because I became too feminized, too soft, right? I didn't want to lead. I couldn't lead. I didn't want to be toxic. And that cost me most everything as a teen. That
Mm.
is what doesn't work. So I started doing personal development right away as soon
When
as
you
I
said
could
it
breathe.
cost you as a teen, can you elaborate?
Well, like I said, if you don't as a man, if you refuse to do the things that men do naturally, to like a man has to prove himself to the world. So like
Mm.
what is ideal is to have a father role model to teach you how to be appropriately masculine, to provide, to protect, to cherish, but also to conquer your fear, your fears, to conquer your shortcomings, to lean in, to fight through it, to build yourself up, to build your character, which builds your confidence, which typically comes with success and money. That's the natural masculine. But if you don't step in, if you're afraid of your fears, if you stay passive, you stay soft, you don't lean into your life, you become what I call a boy. You're soft, you're sweet, but you don't make women feel safe, and you can't take care of anybody because you're not doing it, right? And women don't want these guys. Just naturally,
So
you get in the friend zone. So I realized
gotcha.
I need to bring back my masculinity back. So I had to refilter my dad's what needed to be rejected or altered, but bring back in the part that is capable and leaning in and actually fighting for building my life.
Mm.
So that's how I got
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad, because like you mentioned, like your dad had toxic traits. And so
Yep.
like being able to distinguish what was toxic and what was healthy masculinity, bringing that healthy part and not disparaging the entire being who was your dad, because that created shame in
Yeah.
you.
But
Yeah.
that's what happens a lot. Like
Yeah.
when I decode clients, male or female, there's always that dynamic. So daddy is supposed to be a healthy role model for the sons, right? Go and be devoted masculine energy. It's not toxic. It's not dictatorship. It's devoted Men are
Mm.
devoted to their wives and kids and family, and right, but they lean in hard to make all that work. That's beautiful and natural. You know what I mean? But if daddy is not a role model, if there's no role model for the son, he doesn't know how to be a man. This is
Mm.
what you see out there. That's a shit show, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is without a father role model, the little girls don't feel safe in the world without a father, like figure above them, right? So the our
Mhm.
hierarchy would be here: man, woman, children. Because when men protect their wives and women, when men are the safety over the household, the woman can, the mother can fall into her feminine nurturing natural ways, and then she nurtures the children. And when she's in her feminine, because dad is masculine, the boy has a role model to appropriate masculinity, and the girl has a role model for appropriate femininity. Now we both
Do you
have
see?
both inside of us, but we have to develop it, right? But that's ideal when the things are ideal. So when there's no daddy figure, the boy has no idea who he is, doesn't have to be a man. He becomes too much like his mom, who tells him to be nice and sweet, and like me, right? Vulnerable, which is just terribly destructive. Not
Mhm.
knowing, but this is how you raise a girl. And when there's no daddy, mom is mama bear. Mama bear is masculine. She has to provide and protect for the kids. So the little girl doesn't have a female role model. She has a male role model in a female's
Mm.
body. It doesn't allow them to grow into their femininity. And this is what I see every single freaking day. This is
Wow.
what's not working. Again, now
Wow.
sometimes life isn't working. Sometimes people have to break up. But we know that we need both masculine and feminine as children to grow up balanced and healthy.
Wow. There's a lot to what you just said, and I think
Yeah.
like I can see it. Like I grew up to a single mother who
Yep.
had a lot of masculine energy,
No
and
choice. Yeah.
I and similar to you, there was a lot of disparaging comments about my dad who was absent, and so it to the same degree, I think there was shame in that part of me of my masculinity. I think it showed up in different ways.
Mhm.
And I think I probably overcompensated, and but it is very interesting because like you said, the yin and yang, like we need both, and we all possess both. We have masculine and
Yep.
feminine in us.
Yep.
But and I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I have a lot of fathers and men who are in a position now of nurturing their children. Do you see the dad or the father as a nurturer as well?
I mean, 18% of the American family are now led by fathers, which puts the women into man mode, masculine mode, push mode, conquer mode. Now, again, here we go. I'm gonna trigger some people here. Again, but it's not my opinion. It's just what it is, right? The way men, genetically, is in our essence, in our biology, we have 15 to 30 times more testosterone than the females. This is the jet fuel that we need to conquer and fight the world. We're built for that. We have the jet fuel for doing this. Women have very little testosterone, like I said, 15 to 30% less, right? And the conquering, pushing, competing fuel is testosterone. So what happened is when you put women in the place of competitiveness to that level, they get that energy from their adrenal glands. So there's a fight and flight in women fighting out in the world, acting like men, and it burns them out. So I'm going to give you an example of this. I'm a car guy, so you understand, and I'm going to explain it for the audience if they're not familiar. But the Formula One races. So if you know what that is, it's like the guy in the middle and four wheels going 500 miles an hour. That's a Formula One race, and the guys will get in that, and these cars actually run on jet fuel, right? They go with 400 miles an hour all day long. They spin, 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 spin. Right, that's the race. And then the guy who's a more resilient, more ability, more able to focus, more able to right, is the guy that gets on. Like they're all the same cars, except there's one that wins every time because it's a little bit better, a little sharper, a little faster, a little more calculated, a little more experienced. Okay, right? So this is what is a man's world, right? Get in the world and you go compete. But now what happened, we invite women into that world. Sure, I get it. Fine. Makes sense to a point. but women in the
Wait,
world,
wait.
what?
That is what's gonna trigger some folks. So it's a man's world. We invite women into it. Where does that idea come from?
Well, because we did. The feminist movement is about, choices for women. If you want to be a mom, you could be a mom. But if you want to be at work, we open all the channels that nothing's in your way. The system's not in the way, right? That's opening the channels. That's fine. Except, this is what I'm going to tell you, right? If women lean into that so hard, away from their essence, their nature, they don't have the chemistry for it. Blame God. It's not me. I'm just reporting. Blame God. It's not me. It's biology. It's like jumping in a Formula One race, right? Women want to jump in the race, the rat race. Okay. We have Formula One cars with jet fuel, and you jump in the race in your Toyota Camry. You're going to get
Right.
in the race, you're going to get
Right.
around a bunch of times, and the engine's going to blow out.
Mm-hmm.
Not made
Yeah.
for that. So,
Yeah.
what I'm saying to you, not sexy, people will get triggered, but
Yeah.
most women in their 40s plus in that kind of lifestyle experience all kinds of diseases, breaking down of the bodies, because we now know, because they're living off their adrenaline glands, we now know that 20, 25 years being adrenalized, right? It's adrenaline in your blood burns out your organs from the inside. It's like battery acid in your blood.
And
This is
that's
how
not
you kill a
happening in
woman.
men.
What's that?
And that's
No,
not happening in men.
men use testosterone. We have the fuel for it. For them, they use adrenaline, which kills everything eventually. So my own sister, dude, I'm saying again, this is my experience. This is my work. This is what happens. Every one of
Yeah.
my ladies that are older have to are sick left and right. We call that kind of lifestyle. Again, if you can live 100 miles an hour like a man, right? Cancer training. Is that my sister,
Mm,
who was in the financial world, which is the
mm,
biggest, most competitive dog on dog business in the world, right? Money investment. The guy next to you who works with you tries to steal your accounts. It's the most stress you can imagine, right? Burnout at the age of 62.
mm,
Started her body broke down with all kinds of stuff. The last one
mm.
was a lung disease, and now
Wow, I'm
she's
sorry.
now she has fake lungs inside of her, and that's what it
Mm,
took to stop her. I tried to stop her. I sent it articles. I sent it all this documentation. This is not my opinion. It's the work. And I saw her like burned out, and she refused to stop because she was so proud of her boss babe ways. Now she's sitting in the chair with somebody else's lungs in her body. That
wow.
stopped her. So that's
Yeah,
the engine blowing out. That's the Toyota Camry in the Formula One race.
yeah,
I
wow.
said that to my assistant when my assistant's 29 years old, young girl, and she wants to be a boss, and she's in LA, right? So that's in the culture. She's not thinking about it. And when I taught her that, she goes, "That's not fair. I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not fair." I'm like, "Well, blame God. I'm just reporting here. Like
Yeah.
we're not built for that stuff. So
What
you could jump in the race gently. You can jump in the race, that without going full time, balls to the wall, and that only no man. This is what's going to kill you because women need
mm,
support, women need help, women need companionship, women need somebody to go, I got this. Don't worry about it. But if you're going to be too much of a boss, you can't be vulnerable. You don't let men help. You can't trust anyway because they're going to do it wrong. You become my sister.
mm, I'm sorry
This
to
is
hear
not
that
cute.
about
It's
your
not
sister.
cute, right?
Yeah,
It's tragic. But
yeah,
nobody's talking about this. Go girl is what we say.
yeah.
And women are
What
miserable.
inspired you to get into the line of work that you're doing, to be able to understand
Oh,
male and female dynamics
it was
and yeah.
rather accidental, if I may say. So I've been doing personal development and transformational work since I was 23 years old. Again, because of my circumstances, and didn't know who I was, what I was going to be, how I was going to, why I'm here, why am I here? I didn't even know why I was here. It was very weird.
Mm,
So I started. I wouldn't quit, even though I didn't think I was going to be here long. I didn't quit, so I'd had to find ways to stick around, literally.
mhm,
So personal development, 23 on, um, kind of started decoding my trauma. I started decoding it's not me. It was what I concluded about me from my upbringing and my shitty parenting.
mm,
Right? If you're not loved right, it causes trauma. We take it personally, and we think it's us, and we think we're really, you know, losers, piece of crap. And but no, it's the conclusion we come because if I was
yeah,
if I was a good kid, they would have loved me right. So anyway, so we take that personally. My point is, personal development. And this, I actually got a hold of myself, got a hold of my brain, understood using my body to change my chemistry, to get out of depression, right? To be able to be feeling alive and wanting to conquer, right? There's a whole machine of that. And the more I understood this, the more I'm like, oh, okay. So I got better and better and better and better and better and better and better, and ultimately saved my life.
Mm.
Um, but and I never stopped. I never stopped taking personal development, like never stopped. And in 2006, I was in a workshop in San Jose, in Northern California. I don't know where you are, but um, I was in a 3D workshop up north. And on the flight back to Los Angeles, I was sitting 200. This is when I thought life was random. That was the last thing, the last pivot in my life that tells me that destiny is already written. We just have to like go and find it. So I'm sitting on the plane with 200 people, and three rows kind of thing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the row with two people I met at the workshop, a couple, man and woman, and I'm at the third wheel, which I thought, okay, interesting. Of all the people, I'm sitting with these two. Okay, right? That's kind of thank you, universe, right? The woman at one point on the flight says to me, "What do you do next weekend?" I go, "Next weekend I'm free." Why? She goes, "You want to come to a workshop? It's on me." I'm like, absolutely. Because I'm a workshop brain, right? I don't even know what it's about. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna learn some stuff. I mean, that's my
Mhm.
brain is curious, and the more I
Yeah.
learn, the more I know that what I don't know. So I became a student of life in every way. Like, just what do you got? What do you got? Became my go-to. Curious about everything. So then, after I say, of course, it'll be great, because these workshops, it's on her. She's comping me. These could be expensive, right? Blah blah blah. So I'm a yes first, and then I go. So what's the workshop? After accepting,
After already saying I'm good, yeah.
right? She goes, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." Really? And what happened to me when I tell that story to my friends, they're like, "Dude, there's no such thing. You can't understand these girls. They don't even know how. They don't even understand themselves, right?" Which is we experienced. We've all experienced that, right? That wasn't my reaction. My reaction was, and I can't tell you. I now understand what that was, but at the time I didn't. That my experience with women was I always attracted sweet, sweet, sweet women. I didn't do the crazy stuff my friends did with the yelling and the screaming and the, F you and, like I never, right? If
Mhm.
you meet my wife, you'll go, oh, wow. Like just looking at her, like there's
Yeah.
a sweetness to her. That's always why I attracted. So now I'm going to spend a weekend in a workshop understanding women when I kind of got this. Like I got this. And I thought it was me. I'm artistic ways. I'm easygoing. I thought it was me, and it was, but not. But I couldn't have explained it. Now I know what it was. But point is, in that workshop at the time, I'm married with two little kids. I'm not looking for this information. We're not in trouble. We're not right. I'm just putting my life together slowly. Randomly in that workshop, I thought it was going to be cute. So I ended up going because I said I would, and I thought it was going to be cute. Be nice, be kind, be a nice guy. That's what I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
right? All I can tell you is came off my chair about 7 times in that workshop. I
Mm.
came off of my chair with disbelief. The things that we know were different, but when you actually kind of decode it, it's insane.
Yeah.
And so it freaked
What
me
were
out.
what were what were a few of those things that made
Well,
you
why do they take everything personally? They take everything personally, whether you
Mm.
made it personal or not, right? There's a reason for that anthropologically again. It's
Mm.
anthropology is a cave woman in her and the cavemen in us that are so, again, completely different machine. So taking things personally, we don't. How many times have you said to a woman, "That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not at all what I was meaning." No, I don't know how you got there, because they take everything personally, and they have this urge and this need to decode if it's their fault. So it's interesting. So that was one. Part of it was we hurt their feelings. We don't know we're hurting the feelings all the time. The same way that they disrespect us all the time, but they don't know they're doing it. The same way we don't know we hurt their feelings. But to them, it's so obvious that don't say that, or you do say that, that you don't do this, or you don't. Do you understand that you could not say something and hurt a girl's feelings? Explain that to me as a man.
Yeah.
If I didn't say something, I hurt her feelings. I didn't do anything. but you're expected to, right? You're supposed to notice her dress or her new haircut or whatever. We don't really, have a mind for these details. So you hurt her feelings because you didn't say something or you didn't do something. What? So
Mm.
we hurt the feelings all the time. We have no idea. But get this, this is what one of the coming off my chair moments. And I recognized it as soon as I heard it, is that to a woman, it's so obvious. You don't say that, you don't do this, you know it, right? You attentive. Like the stuff that we hurt the feelings with, to them, they think it's insane that we don't know. So they think that we know. This is it. This is right there. This is insane. Think about it. They think that we know that we're hurting their feelings. So it means we choose to do it. So we're doing it on purpose.
Mm.
How long do you think my sweet wife can stand me, thinking that I'm actually hurting her feelings? I know what I'm doing on purpose. How long until she hates me? This is
Yeah.
what happens in
Yeah.
relationships. So that was like one of the 7 big moments. So I came home upset because I realized I knew nothing about women, which means I knew nothing about my wife.
Mm.
I have 2 little kids. My siblings, I have 4 siblings, all divorced many times. I have my wife. I have my life. Everything is working. I'm building a kingdom here. I know nothing about my wife, dude.
Mm. Yeah.
The liability of that made me nuts, and that's how it started. So I took
Wow.
that company's entire curriculum. I did all their workshops. After you do the workshop and you pay for it, good money, by the way. After you pay for it, you're actually allowed to step back and assist the workshops, right, for free, just to be in the space in the room and assist. I was in every weekend. I was in the damn workshop, right? I would
Yeah.
travel like an hour and a half from here because they're all over Southern California, to be
Mm.
in a space, to be in the room, to get this material, to understand. And the more I learn, because even the same workshop will have different teachers, different questions that come up, right? So the level of depth that I might realize I didn't have. So the more I learned, the more I realized what I didn't know. And I never stopped since then,
Yeah.
2006. And then
Wow.
I became a workshop leader for that company on
Wow.
track. I decided not to go with them. There was too much politics behind the scenes, which is very normal, very typical for a lot of companies, whatever.
Yeah.
But then that's when I continued researching with Dr. John Gray, Esther Perel, Shanti Felhan, and Dr. Pat Allen here. So my last chunk of training is with Dr. Pat Allen, which is family child marriage therapist here in Los Angeles for 46 years. And
Okay.
I spent 3.5 years with 3 or 4 of the people, like in semi-private settings, with her, teaching me everything she learned into her entire career with men, women, marriage, masculine, feminine, yin yang. So
Wow.
this was a chair on a Sunday. So that's when I say it's not my opinion. It's all these people that on which shoulder I stand on, plus my own research, plus my own observations, plus my own, data. So I know what I'm talking about. So I could
Yeah.
decode it all. And people could challenge me left and right. I might bring it respectfully. I'll
Right.
explain it to you, whether it's
Right.
anthropology or science or chemistry of nature. Like it's all, the cocktail just goes across the board. So that's how I got to be here.
Wow. Wow. That's really cool. And I'm curious how you see the work that you do applicable to companies and corporations, because I think in the way that you've described it earlier in the even the pyramid of there
Yep.
needs to be a leader, and that's how we see our organizations run. So how do companies learn from what you have researched and studied and worked in so long?
Well, I mean, it's when you understand these things that you could manage and work with them, right? So, like, often what happens is we force women in the workforce to act like men because it's about production. We don't care how you feel about it. Let's go, right? I need as much as at 4. Dude, you didn't. It was so rude the way you did that. Like, so again, HR was created in the mixing of men and women together at work. Just fact, right? So understanding really the dance between men and women. If you force women into being masculine, it throws them into feeling bad. You understand? If you force a woman to act like a man, think like a man, be logical, and let your feelings behind, it's impossible. So there's a lot of conflicts within the system, and they know there should be not taking things personally. They know they need to lead. They know that they have to let that go, but they can't because a woman's feeling is what drives her. So for us, it's our logic. To be masculine is to be in your head. To be feminine is to be in your body. We both do both, but we spend most of our time in our heads. Women spend most of their time in their bodies. So the idea of really, knowing your feelings at work is inappropriate, cause a lot of turmoil. So how do you approach? There's a way to approach women at work, right? In a way that actually is in line with their essence, right? If you understand what they need in order not to get emotional or triggered into feeling angry, there's a way to do this, right? And same the other way around. If you're a woman manager and men disrespect you, you feel that men are resisting you, men are not responding, men are, digging their heels, you're disrespecting them enough for them to make you pay. And then women call misogyny, and the company's misogynistic and all that stuff. And I'm telling you the story. One of my clients, 38 years old, works in an office here in Los Angeles, and the manager that they had for the floor, he's on the floor with some of the guys, and the manager got promoted, and a woman came in to be managing, right? And this is what happens a lot. You don't lead men like men lead men, because men have well, this is very delicate. People are going to get mad, but
Give it to me. Let's hear it.
right, you're going to hear me. So men have a respect barometer, right? I could be talking to you at work and go, dude, you need to get that's okay. You completely missed that thing, right? I need you to go back and fix it. You're not going to get your feelings hurt about this. You're actually going to feel a little bit of shame, right? And you go, ooh, I'm not doing my job right. I missed the boat, and you go fix it. Do you know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to do this out loud in front of others. That would be disrespectful. I will not destroy you in my request. That would be disrespectful, right? I will not micromanage you. I'll let you go fix it, right? And then you have to prove it to me that you got your stuff together, right? This is all the barometer of respect, men on men. It's built in. It's natural. We have it. We know we know how to not cross lines into disrespect. Things we never talk
Because of
about.
what? Why do you think that is?
It's in our bodies. It's still in our bodies. Like, and I know that you don't you don't date your brother's last girlfriend, right? Or her mother. You know that, right? It's in there. It's coded. There's an instinct about this. There's things you just don't cross. Things you don't do. You don't viciously just destroy somebody's reputation because you're mad at them. That would be your feminine side. You see? So men have this automatic kind of barometer, men on men. They know how to not disrespect. The feminine emulating the masculine at work often will cross the line, micromanage, disrespect, shame in public, correct in public, right? And what happens to the masculine, even though he's supposed to follow her lead, she's doing it disrespectfully. They resist, they ignore, they turn their heads. My point is, in the end, and the more she leans in, trying to make them, force them, control them, which that's not how you inspire a man, then she feels disrespectful and they're misogynistic. Anyway, my point is, my friend here in Los Angeles that experienced that the female manager became so micromanaging, so disrespectful, so over the top, so like an understanding respect paradigm that is masculine. It's not her fault. It's just it's not built in. Do you know what I mean? They ended up within 9 months or so, it's 8 or 9 months, they end up going to the manager on the floor and said, either she leaves or we all do. She can't lead. She's disrespectful. She's micromanaging. She's in our faces. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's trying to be right about everything. That happens a lot. So what happened is some of the guy got promoted in her place, right? A guy that came in 2 years after the company. She thought she would get the next promotion. She didn't. And then she tried to sue the company because they're misogynistic and it's because she's a woman. No, because she doesn't know how to lead, which is, again, it happens a lot. So
Yeah.
the more we
And
put
the way
ourselves
that you
outside of
described
our
it,
true
and the way
nature,
that you
right, the more
described it,
trouble
it
we got.
sounded like that um there is no way for a woman to lead a man. Is that correct?
You said it. You
So
said
there's
it.
nothing she could have done in that job to have been better. at
Yeah.
what she
Now,
was doing.
some women honestly understand this. It's a little bit rare, right? But some women who have raised with fathers and brothers understand this. They understand accountability. They understand respect. They understand honor in a way that most women who don't have, who've not been privy to masculinity when they're growing up, brothers and fathers, don't understand at all. So they lean to the feminine way. That's the only way they know. It's not their fault. I'm not blaming anybody. But that creates a lot of problems. And then they call patriarchy, misogyny, all that stuff. And that's not it. It's disrespect most of the time.
Mm, that's
You
good.
see it? It's huge. It's huge. It's
Yeah.
not sexy and triggers people, but this is what this is the mechanics of it all.
Yeah. I wanna ask about gender intelligence
Yes.
and the role that that plays in your methodology and your coaching. What
Yep.
does it mean, and then how do you employ that?
So that was actually Dr. John Gray. Mars and Venus came up with that term, and people started complaining that's just toxic, and so he stopped using it. I don't think it's toxic. I use it all the time, and I stole it really. And you understand emotional intelligence. Women think they're emotionally more intelligent than men. That's not really true, but it's emotional intelligence. There's different, right? Gender intelligence is you have to learn what the other part, the other side is just everything we talked about today, right? Like as a if you're a woman wanted to be in a relationship with a man, but don't know anything about men, you didn't have a father, you didn't have a role model, right? You're right. You're going to collide with men hard, not understanding respect, not understanding you can't control them, not understanding you can't take them over, not understanding you can't make them do anything. You just can't. All right. So gender intelligence as a woman would be to cross the bridge into men's world and go learn why men do what they do, what motivates us, why, how do we process feelings. We have deep, deep, deep feelings if we just don't share them. There's a reason. There's a reason for that. How do you get him to reveal himself? There's a way to do this. That has to be taught because men naturally will conceal. Again, survival mechanism, right? So, as if you're a woman or a man who wants to build a relationship with somebody of the opposite sex, you have to learn. You have to cross the bridge into that world and learn. And I'm going to tell you this when I teach women about men, our instinct, what drives us, why, like they go flashback of their entire lives, all the mistakes that they made. And my favorite part is when they understand men's instinct, what drives us, what brings the best out of us. 50% of everything that they take personally as women falls off.
Mm,
That in itself is a different life. That's
mm,
gender intelligence. Go learn. And the same with
yeah.
men. Men will say, I don't know why. I can't make her happy. She's always mad at me. She says stuff like, it's the small stuff that, why can't I get the small? I need so little, right? We don't know what that means. Right. So as a man, cross the freaking bridge into a woman world, understand what that means. What does that mean? Is it's very coded. Understand her instinct, understand the cave woman inside of her, understand what brings the best out of her. Dude, that's a smart dude, right? So you could try to make women more logical. Ridiculous. That's not how they function. That's not right. There's more about their emotions, and you have to like learn how to embrace that and actually kind of manage that so she can respect you, right? So cross the bridge to men world, cross the bridge to a women world. And then what I say is my whole life background comes from dancing, right? The metaphors with dancing relationships are beautiful. So then you could actually both walk on the bridge, meet in the middle, and learn to do this. You see it?
Yeah, that painting. Oh man,
It's
that's beautiful.
dancing. It's ballroom
Yeah,
dancing.
yeah,
So that's building a relationship. When I'm in dancing with my wife, I'm leading. She's supporting the lead. Is that toxic? I don't think so. She loves
yeah,
it. Now,
yeah.
again, the metaphors are beautiful here. As a lead in dancing, in ballroom dancing, as a lead, I also still have to have a certain amount of sensitivities because I could overlead her. I could break her arm. I could literally
Mhm,
be a bully, which means she's not gonna want to dance with me.
mhm,
So men have to lead with sensitivities for women to get on the boat. Do you know what I mean? So, and with sensitivities, that means I'm aware of her. I'm actually so dancing is all tactile. With we communicate with our fingers, right? And I'm super aware of what's come back at me. I'm super aware of the resistance, the lack of it. Like there's a huge amount of communication without a word that nobody
mhm,
can tell, right? But I'm completely connected to her and aware of her. Again, so for her to be comfortable and then allow me to lead her, trust me to lead her, knowing that I'm not going to spin her to a wall or a table under the couple, right? Because she's at my mercy. So, in order for her to be vulnerable, here it is again. We talked about this in the beginning. Her vulnerability comes into letting go of control, which I have with sensitivities. And when she could let go of control and be completely in the flow, and in the moment, she shines and radiates like a beacon. Everybody's looking at her. No one's looking at me, even though I'm doing most of the work. Now, she's not passive. She's holding herself. She has to hold her frame so we can communicate, right? There's a certain like tension she has to hold so we can actually communicate physically.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing everything backwards in high heel and a dress. It's not easier. It's different. So that's the yin yang of ballroom dancing. That's the yin yang of
Mm.
relationships. There's like you have to lead with sensitivities. That's the only way she can be vulnerable and let go of control and be in her feminine, where she's more comfortable and I'm more comfortable. And in that, I'm telling you, I take my wife dancing still, right? And to this day, I can still make her squeal. What I
Yeah.
mean by that is she's so open and vulnerable to my lead that I can still surprise her. And she gets a
Yeah.
whoa, ah,
Yeah.
ah, ah, right? Like, guess
Yeah.
what? She's gloriously in her feminine. She loves it. She's let go of everything. She's present in the moment, which makes her feel good. And
Yeah.
I get to lead this and makes me feel good.
Yeah. No,
Hey,
that's nice. I like the metaphor of dancing. I think I thought about that as we were talking just about the male always leads in dancing. You always like and that's the way that it goes. And I think I will respectfully say that I we see things differently in many areas of relationship, but I love the way that you were able to explain it. And I know it's backed by a lot of research and a lot of science. And I think when we first started talking, you mentioned that there were negative childhood experiences that came up,
mhm.
and it was harder to find a positive one. And I just wanted to circle back to that real quick, and not dwell on the negative thing, but I want to ask about specifically a girl or a woman
Mhm.
that you lost out on because you were operating from the feminine energy that your mom put on you, and what that has done for you in life. Like what has that loss done for you?
All right. So the first love, we all have one, right? But at the time, I was 15 years old. I was a dork. I was awkward. I was a nice guy, right? That women don't like. This little girl wasn't pretty at all. She was little. I like that, and I just thought she was as dorky as I am. Me and her, a perfect fit. We were hanging out in the same circle of friends. It was 10 of us. We'd always get together at 15. Back in those days, you got into somebody's basement and listened to records. That's what we did, right? We didn't drink. We didn't smoke. We get downstairs, drink some soda pop and listen to music and dance around. We literally would dance to the music like in the basement. So this cute little angel, like the more I got to know her, the more I liked her. Like I said, we were a perfect fit in my brain. And months into this, because you know I'm a dork and I don't move fast. And when I asked her to be my girlfriend, she's like, "Oh, God, no," and broke my heart.
Mm,
Right.
wow.
So I remember being in a funk for like 3 weeks, like just took my heart out. I was just like hollow, right? Like it's just I found it devastating. My first love, my first crush. So I didn't understand necessarily that it was my feminine side. Like I got instantly put in the friend zone. Do you know what I mean? That I discovered that later, but I know exactly what happened there now from understanding this dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think there's a lot to be learned from you and your work, and I'm gonna give you a chance to shout that out later. But I want to hop into a segment. It's just fill in the blank.
Yep.
Vulnerability in relationships means blank.
Revealing your fears and your weaknesses, and what happens is from typically has to be started by the feminine because the masculine will be stoic naturally. So you have to invite him into his vulnerability, which means you have to be vulnerable first. Again, I don't people don't like that, but it's a fact. Man won't be vulnerable first. Women has to start opening that channel. When a woman's vulnerable, he's going to meet you in this vulnerability. When you reveal something that's scary that you're afraid of, he's going to meet you there, right? There's something there's something in the human condition that when you could go to a complete stranger, somebody know just even a little bit casually, and if you get vulnerable with them, they find that very flattering that you trust them enough to open up to something that's sensitive, and it brings people in closer. That's how you
Mhm.
get close together. That's how men and women kind of. So vulnerability starts by the ladies typically. If the guy's masculine, he's not going to start. And then you invite him into your world that way with your fears and things you're uncomfortable with, and that kind of stuff. So that's vulnerability for women.
Yeah. I like that, and I'm gonna challenge you because this is
Great,
going back to the dance.
bring it.
Where men lead in the dance, I think men can lead in vulnerability as well, and I think that has been one of my superpowers in this podcast, in this life of leading with my vulnerability and getting to deeper connection and deeper conversations with other people through that.
Hmm.
But I do think there's a there it has to start somewhere in order to invite the other person in.
For sure.
So
Now I'm going to challenge you. What does that
yeah,
look like? How do you vulnerability start first?
I think I think we had a beautiful example of it in this conversation, right? We talked about our moms
Yeah.
and the impact of that, and I think that is a common thread with a lot of men of their relationship with their mom, whether it be positive or negative. There is a relationship there,
Yep.
um and even the absence of a mother is a relationship, is just non-existent. And so I think leading in that way of like, what was your relationship with your mom like, or how did the influences of your past, that's why I asked the childhood question, how
Yep.
did that shape who you are today, or
Right.
can you even pull memories from the past, and
Mm.
then going from there. I think I've done a lot of work in uncovering my own traumas and how they've influenced me, and a lot of them are tied into a sense of self worthlessness,
Yep.
because of the shame that I carried around the abandonment from my father, the abandonment from my mother, and things like that. And so that showed up in
Of
relationship. That
course. Of course. Of
and
course.
and I know I won't say no longer carry any shame, but I carry very little shame associated to those things today, to where I am able to be vulnerable about them. And I think when I am, other people, it disarms other people so that their shame can drop, and then they realize that we're just human with
All
human
right.
experiences.
So again, give me an example of being vulnerable and then starting it, because I don't think that's what it is. But go ahead.
Say it again.
Give me an example of you being vulnerable first that opens those channels.
I just did. Like,
There was
I
no
can
like a
tell you
concrete
about
example,
I tell you about my relationship with my mother.
right? How do you make that okay? So what I'm picking up, this is again just saying,
Yeah.
it's not you being vulnerable as much as you being authentic.
Okay.
And
Okay.
authenticity is magical. When you meet somebody who's authentic, they are who they are because they just discovered they know who they are. They did the work. They peel the onion. They fix their traumas. They understand their strengths and their weaknesses. They know where they stand. They don't have to wear a mask to try to pretend to impress anyone. They just are who they are. It's incredibly attractive and magnetic, and people will come up to you, right? And that energy makes people vulnerable in your presence, and then you can have these conversations.
I
But
hear
it's
you.
not you going after a girl going, I'm feeling terrible about this and I don't feel that you're meeting me halfway. Like that's not what I'm, you know what I mean? That would
Well,
be
I
what
think that's
doesn't
how
work.
it's how you define vulnerability. If you define vulnerability in a form of weakness and needing or lacking of something, then yeah, then you're being open. Ultimately, vulnerability to me is about being open, opening your heart to being either receiving or giving. And so if I open my heart, whether it's something that I feel good about, bad about, something that's bad has happened, something that I need help with, like all of those are forms of vulnerability. You're just honing in on the negative aspect of vulnerability.
I am?
Yeah.
No, no, not at all. Like, so vulnerability takes actually a lot of courage.
Yeah.
You
I
can't be
believe so.
vulnerable if you're not courageous,
Yeah.
right? Most people don't want to step into courage.
Hmm.
So they don't step into vulnerability. People that are broken have a hard time with that. So what I'm saying to you is vulnerability is literally the ability to reveal some weaknesses, to reveal some fears, but you have to be courageous as hell to do this with people, especially maybe people you don't know very well, though it pulls them into your world. And that's how you create bonds, right? But the more you kind of peel the onion for yourself, and you get to be okay with yourself, and right, land in your body, I call it, land in your body, not be stuck in your head and your traumas. You shine and you invite everybody, like you're like a magnet.
Yeah.
And then that magnetism attracts people who resonate with that, and the quality of your life changes per the quality of the people that you attract, because of the quality of your energy. That it's a product of vulnerability, but I think vulnerability comes secondary to peeling the onion into being authentic. That then allows you to have these moments with people. The other way around is what I'm saying, that doesn't necessarily work. The other way
No,
around, like,
I
it's
like that.
different.
I
It's a
like that.
different story. It's
Yeah.
a different way to look at it.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. And authenticity is definitely a precursor to vulnerability. So yeah. Let's go to the next. So we were supposed to rapid response these fill in the blanks, but I love that. Thank you for that dialogue.
Sure.
My most rewarding coaching experience has been
Me?
blank.
That was that workshop in 2006, being coached by women in the world of women, and falling off my chair and understanding how much I didn't know and how dangerous that was for my relationships.
Mm,
Like, I was not going to be a statistic because I didn't know. Like, that made no sense to me, and it scared the life out of me. That's how I've stepped in 100 miles an hour. So that was
yeah,
one of the, I mean, I've had a bunch, but that one, life
yeah.
changing, changed the course and the path of my entire life.
Okay, that's dope. If I could tell my younger self anything, it would be blank.
Oh, now you tap back. Now you're tapping into my traumas. My trauma is, I was an accident. I
Mhm.
come from a Catholic family. There was a plan for each child. Every 3 years, I had a child. I guess they got drunk one night. And I came in sideways. My mother hated being pregnant with me, which I transgressed into she hates me, which she kind of did, right? Not to the point that I felt it, but as I was born, out of cycle, out of place, right? She was sick for 9 months when she was pregnant. She hated all of that. I picked all that up, hated all of it. And when I was born again, not supposed to be here, out of place, and kind of pushed me aside. So my trauma was, I don't belong here. There was a
Mhm.
terrible mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. I carried that my whole life. It took me the age of 5 to get my thoughts and my feelings together, when I realized, like, now that, talk about a big moment. I can tell you where I was in the house, sitting in the stairs after something had just happened, and I realized I'm born in the wrong family. These are
Mm,
not my people. They hate me. I don't like them. I don't understand why I'm here. And that was the beginning of my journey in observing human beings, trying to understand my circumstances. But I became fascinated with the human condition, trying to understand my crap, but starting to watch people. And that was like at 5, I started doing that. And, I was always the guy in the corner watching. But I'm telling you, when you watch people, again, you understand we're made of energy, electricity, and vibration and frequencies. You start picking on people. You know what's going on with them. You're just looking at them. I can. But I've been doing this since 5. We all have that ability. So that's part of my work, is really be able to tap into stuff that you can't even express. I do this in men's work. Men will choke and cry and they can't talk. And I go, is this what's going on? Right? So that was my big one. Like, I'm not supposed to be here, but I had to discover
Are
that
you gonna tell
actually,
that younger version anything else? A different story?
exact opposite. It was not an accident. It's not. It's not supposed. I was supposed to be here. Part of the trauma and all the crap was actually how I got to be this guy. So without that, it wouldn't be this guy. This guy's up to something really big, something really good, right? He's of service. He wants to help the world. He wants to be of service to the world. He wants to. The big calling, my God calling, is my job to reframe the cultural belief in relationships.
I like
What's
that. I
out there
like
doesn't work. There's a more traditional ways to do it. There's a modern way to do what works. What's out there doesn't work. So my
mm,
God calling is to reframe. I have to teach this to the masses.
mm,
So that's the
okay.
calling. So, but that's impossible without all the crap that I went through. So I embraced that and realized that my I don't belong here is out of place. It was a conclusion, not a reality, and kind of putting all that in place that I'm actually here for something much bigger. And that was all essential part of it. Okay,
Right.
I'm good with that. I can take that.
Yeah. No, that is great. Andre, I think are there, so this is open for you now.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to leave the audience, just final thoughts, things that are on your mind, things that are on your heart that you want to share.
Yeah, and I also have two gifts for listeners. So when we're done with this, so
Okay.
um, the thing that I like to leave everyone thinking, and I'm going to say it right, like it's very very hard to go against the cultural tidal wave out there. Everything that's crazy is the new normal, and everything that's normal is stupid, right? And it creates a lot of chaos. Look into the world, like especially in a relationship, everyone's confused. They don't understand why it doesn't work. It should work. It should work. Soften the men, empower the women. It should work. It should work. It doesn't in relationships, right? So my assistant, the same girl I was talking to you about earlier, in Los Angeles, 29 years old, she wants a traditional life, 3 kids, cannot say that out loud. The women attack her. Girl, you're better than be some guy's slave and children will ruin your life. Really? Really? Again, if we go back to nature a little bit, a woman's body is made to reproduce and make babies. That's every month a reminder of that. Oh,
Hmm.
no babies this year. Oh, no baby this year, right? That's that's their bodies, right?
Hmm.
Ours is made to fight and build a legacy, and so their legacy's babies, our legacy's babies. This is how the whole world continues. Do you know what I mean? So my point is, my assistant, who's actually very feminine, has learned that she can't say out loud that she wants to be a traditional woman. Women shame them, attack them. She betrays. She's betraying the sisterhood of we don't need no man, and you could do all on your own. That's what's not working. So I want to say the message is, ladies and gentlemen, think for yourselves. Right? Forget what the culture is hard to do. Forget the cultural crap. Forget everything that's not working. You want to be traditional? Be traditional. You want to be a boss? Be a boss. But I want to tell you, when you go so far against nature, nature has a way to bite you back in the ass. And these are all my clients. I don't understand. I'm miserable. I'm unhappy. I've done everything my mother culture told me. I'm not happy. I'm like, I know you live like a man. It
Mm,
doesn't make you happy long term. There's an in
mm,
between. There's a in between. And I'm not saying go back to the kitchen barefoot. Right? I get accused of that all the time. That's not what I say. Not even a little bit. Right? But there's a way to come together as men and women that is you could create a harmonious relationship. You could create a dance, right? Bringing your strengths on both sides together to build the entity called a relationship, a marriage, a family. It's not black and white. It's not he controls everything and she's passive. There's all kinds of negotiation in between. Some of the stuff, because we both have masculine and feminine within us, so some of the stuff that I take on in this house would be considered feminine. But we made a deal. I'll take care of this, right? And some of the stuff she does, that's part of our lives, the negotiation is or would be considered more masculine. Well, we talked about this. I'll do this if you do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not just right. These are all the deal makings. So ballroom is black and white, yin and yang, with sensitivities and vulnerabilities, right? But the true dynamic is really the understanding, the negotiating, the give and take, and the agreements that we make that we could flourish together as opposed to make each other wrong. And in a
mm,
culture where men are toxic, men are dangerous, you can't trust them. How's that going to work?
mm,
How's that going to
mm,
work, right? So again, we went too far out of bounds. So there's a modern way of putting all that together where women are happier, men are happier, living more through their actual essence of their bodies. A woman in her feminine is going to live longer, is going to be happier, is going to be easier going. She's going to be softer, gentler, more feminine, feeling safe in the world, with a man who takes the brunt of the fighting out the world, right?
Awesome.
Typically, men take care of the outside world, women take the inside world, but there's a whole new modern way to do this, but it has to
Yeah.
be negotiated.
Yeah. How can people reach you, contact you, work with you if they want to? What are ways they can
Okay,
connect with?
beautiful. So I have two gifts for you listeners. My website is projectequinox.net. Equinox is a perfect balance between night and day. Get it? I thought it was clever. But I do a lot of podcasts, like 3-4 weeks, sometimes more, because I'm trying to spread the waves. There is hope. Relationships are, you could build healthy relationships even nowadays with a cultural. The problem is everything that's out there will keep you from getting into healthy relationships. The false narrative is terrible. And again, to decode that, right? So I'm sending hope. Yes, ladies, there is hope. Men are out there, right? You have to know how they function for you to appeal to their instinct, and vice versa, right? Women, because men complain about the same thing. Where are all the good women? They're all gone. They're all trash. They're all bossy. They're all mean. They're all disrespectful. Okay. So we all have the same complaints, really, because we flipped the script. Anyway, so
Mhm.
I do a lot of podcasts to send the waves, the hope, right? There's a different way. There is an actual way that works in the modern style. Um, but I notice there's two types of people who listen to podcasts, because I used to have my own, and I realized there's two types. So one type, we'll let the audience qualify themselves. The one type are information seekers, I call them. Right? They kind of understand things aren't working. They're getting frustrated. They're getting older. They understand, like, you're supposed to be feminine if you're a girl, but I don't know what that means, and how does that work, and why is that important? You know what I mean? Information seekers, and men, the same thing. What's this masculine, feminine crap that I keep hearing about? Because we don't think in those ways. So if you're an information seeker, I'm going to send you directly to my email. Are you ready? Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail. AndreCoaching, the number one at Gmail. And in the subject box, this is if you're an information seeker lady, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. It's called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. Ladies, this is my work with men. This is men talking, not me, man. I'm also a man, right? But it's a 30 pages. It's a workbook. You have to fill it out. It'll make you think, right? And things that, ladies, you think is your hair color or your butt. It's not. It's the energy that you bring. Five. So I'll do coaching one, and in the subject box, just write irresistible book, and I'll send you a digital copy. Gift. I sell it on my website. I'll give it to you listeners who are looking for information, and you understand a little bit more what I'm up to, right? It might just tune you in a little bit more, that I'm not this pig who's trying to put women back in the kitchen. That's exactly opposite. I want human beings to create healthy bonds. That's my mission.
Mhm.
And that means decoding what works as opposed to what doesn't work. Okay, so gift number one. Gift number two is, I noticed some people, right? Oh, this guy's got something. Oh, wait a second. It resonated, right? Oh, I felt that, right? So if I resonated with anything, if you resonate with anything I said, and you're more of a action taker, takes courage. We're talking about courage, right? So Andre Coaching One at Gmail, in the subject box, just write talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link to my calendar. You'll book yourself a space at open. We're gonna have a one-on-one call like you and I are having right now. And in that call, we'll decode what's not working, right? Because people come to me when they realize they're trapped in a loop. Same result, same result, same result. Different guy, different girl, same crap, same crap. Oh, it's me. It's got to be
Mhm.
me. Eventually, you got to look in the mirror, right? It's you. You're the common denominator. In that call, it's an hour plus call, a little bit over. In 15 minutes, we'll decode your childhood, and we'll put the finger on where the wheels came off for you. Why, as a woman, you're traumatized to being more masculine? Why, as a man, if you're traumatized to being more feminine, and or somewhere in the middle that's confusing? So in 15 minutes, we kind of decode, because I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship until we decode and release the crap from your past. But we have to even know what that is first, right? So part of the work that I do is we start here, we remove the trauma, then we step into the dream life. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
So that call, like I said, will take a little courage, but we'll literally you're gonna walk away with understanding, that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're a product of your past. So if you're not broken, we could fix it. We can release it. And if the dream is whatever it is, babies, marriage, or just companionship long term, right? What's the dream? And then we'll talk about ways you could jump in with me. There's 5 different ways to get in: small, medium, large, right? But like
Nice.
I said, that call alone for some people is liberating because they understand they're
Yeah.
not broken. So that's my gift.
Oh, that's great. And I'll put that in the show notes so people can reach out to you and
Great.
connect with you. And Andre, with all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me, embracing vulnerability.
Same here. I have to tell you, I appreciate your line of questioning. Like I said, I do a lot of these, and often it's the same questions and over. And you kind of went sideways and up and under and around the corner, and allowed me to break it down. Again, I say this all the time. It's not my opinion. It's not my judgment. It's the work, and we could decode it in different ways. And ultimately, it's liberation and freedom when you understand it, right? If you know how to bring out the best out of a woman. By the way, that's what I was doing when I said earlier in my life that I was always attracting sweet women. When I found out through the work is it's not that I attracted sweet women, it's that I always brought the best out of them, the sweet out of them, the feminine out of them. How did I do this? I don't know how. What I learned and I heard over and over again is to be with me felt safe.
Mm, wow.
They felt safe with me. So when a woman feels safe, she relaxes, she's radiant,
Mhm.
she's feminine, she's happy, she's right, anxiety, like there's no tension, there's no anxiety, right? So it was easy for me. But so I don't know how I made them feel safe. I guess it's my energy, right? But again, how do you bring out the best out of a woman? She has to feel safe. How do you make a woman feel safe? We're not aware that they need safety, but they do. And how do you bring the best out of a man so that he provide, protects, cherish, gives support, lead with sensitivities that you get to enjoy a life of more leisurely as opposed to getting in the race and you know potentially risk blowing out the engine. That's not worth it.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
about we do what works best? Why do we let's do what works best. Just saying.
Yeah. Good. All right, Andre. It was good talking to you. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.